to prove it, I'm ready to do it, I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now, I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real, I'm feeling so ruthless. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Yeah. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made of. Get in the game, your moment of fame, show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up, it's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, nothing can keep me from reaching the top. This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride. I'm ready to throw down, it's time for the showdown. I'm ready to rise, don't be surprised, I'll take on the world now. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. My time.
Covering a mere 1.3 square miles of total land area, the tiny village of Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin is called home by an estimated 1,000 residents, but make no mistake about it, the village may be small, but their passion for racing is big. For over 60 years, race cars have flocked to this otherwise quiet and unassuming locale to take on the big, sprawling circuit known as Road America. And tonight, the stars and cars of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series will make that same pilgrimage, as we are pleased to welcome you to round number 6 of the 2019 championship right here on Podium Esports and the iRacing Esports Network. Good evening, race fans, and thank you for tuning in wherever you may be joining us from. David Schildhouse here, along with my partner in the booth, James Krahula, and back in the Windy City studio, our producer, Cisco Escarmuza. James, simply put, Road America is an enormous monster of a racetrack, one that can lure drivers into a false sense of security with long straightaways and a wide racing surface, but with the high speeds come slow corners and plenty of opportunities for mistakes to be made. Mistakes that could lead to an early exit from tonight's event. What will be the keys to victory here tonight?
Well, it's not just the villagers here in Elkhart Lake that are passionate about this racetrack. This is a track that drivers are passionate about. Drivers and fans are passionate about worldwide. This is a track with a lot of really fast sweepers, 90 degrees, short technical sections. This racetrack has it all. As you said, 4 miles in length. This is a track that is a favorite to these drivers that they love to race on. We love watching racing here. No matter what type of vehicle comes here, it puts on a great show. It's just a track that, again, you just don't see getting built anymore.
Indeed, and we'll transition from those thoughts and come back to a few on the other side of tonight's guest interview. Tonight's going to be last week's winner from Laguna Seca, the driver of the number 40. It's Elliot Skier who joins us here tonight from Road America. Elliot, good evening to you, and thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you guys. Glad to be here.
Coming out of Encinitas, California, another West Coast driver representing that great region. 2 wins and 2 starts for you here in the PCA Sim Racing Series. A pretty good batting average by anybody's measurement, but we'll leave the sim racing side for last. We'll focus on this very impressive racing resume that you have built up for yourself over the years, including multiple wins in the MX5 Cup Series, and also a championship in 2015 in the IMSA GT3 Cup. So, Elliot, for those watching at home who may not know a whole lot about you or want to learn more, tell us from your perspective how your racing career got to this point.
Yeah, it's been a long and sometimes unexpected road. All started out as a kid. Dad was very competitive in other sports. He grew up in skiing and cross-country skiing. And no real car side until I guess they noticed a car ambition at an early age. I'm very lucky enough to have parents that supported that. And they got me into go-karts at 6 years old. I still remember the moment when they're like, "Do you want to do this?" My obvious answer is absolutely. And that snowballed into 10 years of go-karting, which then led into Spec Miata racing at 16. That went pretty well early on, became a Mazda factory driver for 2 years. And I've always grown up a Porsche kid, from the old stuff to the new stuff. That's where I wanted to end up. And just through the right connections and the right people were able to get me into a Porsche for a couple of years, and it's just all gone from there.
2 years as a Mazda factory driver in 2012 and 2013. You racked up 6 wins, 14 podium finishes in 23 starts. That's a pretty good stat line there. I guess we shouldn't be surprised to see you go 2 for 2 here already in this series. But through those 2 years, was it more just a lot of learning and good equipment that led you to get those wins, or did you already feel pretty well established at that point to go out there and contend for wins?
Yeah, it's a mixture of both. Obviously, a new racing environment. Every track in 2012 was new. Going across the country from Sebring to Road America to Watkins Glen to Road Atlanta, just the list goes on. So there's a lot of learning there, and it's the same exact cars we have here in iRacing, and the way they battle and the way they drive, the draft effects are all as close to perfect as they can be. And so, what you see on here in iRacing with these intense battles are what we have out there in the real stuff. And it teaches you pretty quick. Your dogfighting skills definitely increase after a season or 2 in those cars.
Of course, we were at Laguna Seca a week ago where you took a win. And from what my information shows me, 2014, you established the ST class lap record at Laguna Seca in the Continental Tire Series. Is that a record that still stands today?
I actually am not sure on that. That's a good question. With the ST series being gone now, who knows if I might hold that record forever? But
it might forever be yours with that series no longer in existence. But you made the transition then and up to the IMSA GT3 Cup. Talk about the transition going from a car like the Mazda Miata and the MX5 Cup Series up to the GT3. Obviously, 2 very different vehicles, but from where you were sitting in the driver's seat, what was that transition like?
Oh, absolutely. You hear people talk about MX5s and Miatas being, the perfect balance. Everything's sorted on the cars, 50-50 weight, small car. And then you hear 911s and the stereotypes about them being widowmakers, the back of the car, weight distribution, having a pendulum effect, etc., etc. And the way that we kind of went about it is, I'm pretty big into old cars and historic cars as well. Kind of consider myself a old school Porsche historian. And lucky enough that there's been some old cars through the family as well. And we decided, hey, between that year gap between Mazda and Porsche, let's get in an old car. So I learned in the 70s and 80s 911s about the drastic weight distribution, and put myself kind of right into the middle of the fire and learn 911s just in the most abrupt way possible. And you take a 35-year difference, there's going to be changes in the cars. Technology gets better, different materials, different weight balances. But at the end of the day, the 911 is still the 911. And the driving characteristics between all of them from the 60s through are all, the fundamentals are still there. Physics doesn't change in 65 years or whatnot. So, it's been, it was a very good way to transition into it. And the Porsches also seem to fit my style. And not only that, but it's also the brand that I've just grown up being the absolute fan of. So it's all worked out pretty well.
And that brings us to today, now a member of the PCA Sim Racing Series, a 2-time winner, of course, and talking about transitions and all the time spent in this very car that you're racing here on Friday nights. For everyone watching at home who's a sim racing enthusiast, a race car enthusiast, and always begs the question, how do they compare? And as somebody who has spent a considerable amount of time, both in the real world and here on the sim side, feel free to talk about it.
Yeah, this is where you got to give iRacing the big credits, not only with the tracks being laser scanned, as everyone knows, they get those as close as they could possibly be. You can't just laser scan, a shock or a tire and have it come out to be exactly what you want. That being said, we absolutely used shock settings and whatnot on the X5s that we tested in iRacing, and we were pretty surprised at how similar they came out, both in the numbers and in the feel. And that transfers, right through to the Cup cars here, and the RSRs, and all the cars through the ranks. That, yeah, obviously the numbers aren't going to be exact. It's not going to be within a tenth or so of the real car. Brake pressures might not be the same. But the way you approach the car, what you prioritize as the driver in the car, the inputs you give it, the outputs you get back, it's by far and away the closest thing I've ever seen, and without a doubt the best training tool any driver could have to keep working without burning through a set of tires every day.
Certainly, the cheaper solution than going to the track and worrying about tearing up equipment and the cost of tires and fluids and everything else that comes along with operating a race vehicle. Well, Elliot, you've made quite the impression here in this series already with 2 wins. Another opportunity here tonight at Road America, 45 minutes at this 4-mile track. So I'll give you the opportunity to say hello and thanks to everyone who helps get you out here week after week in the sim side and in real life as well.
Yeah, so the list, it can go on, but at the end of the parents have been incredibly supportive of the whole thing. Financially, it comes to a point where racing becomes a bit ridiculous. So then it becomes the moral support on their side and everything learned. But I've had a bunch of great guys from Wright Motorsport, Premier Sports Car Service, Rebel Rock there helped for a bit. Even Pat Long and a bunch of the guys have been huge helps through the career. And then of course iRacing, because spending a weeknight on here and not only having fun racing against friends, but also being able to prepare for the weekend ahead. It's the perfect training tool. And now that esports is growing and we have actual broadcast races, live streams, prizes up for grabs, and having you guys a part of this right away with PCA Sim Racing has just been an incredible way to get PCA members into this new form of racing.
Well, it's certainly been a pleasure to watch you on the track, and we'll look forward to seeing you do it one more time here tonight at Road America. Elliot, best of luck here, and with any good fortune coming your way, we'll be talking to you on the other side as well.
Thank you, guys. I'll make sure to put on a show out there.
There's your 2-time winner, the defending race winner from last week at Laguna Seca, driver of the number 40. That is Elliot Skier, sharing some time with us here tonight as he prepares for 45 minutes around Road America. James, and a professional racing driver here on the iRacing side as well. A lot of good thoughts and feedback coming from him, talking about the differences and the similarities from driving these very same cars in real life. A champion in his own right, now over here in this series, spend some time with us as well. Very complimentary of what iRacing has done.
Oh, absolutely. And it's an absolute pleasure talking to him and watching him race and learning about his background. It's just been very, very cool to get to talk with Elliot Skier. And again, he's been 2 for 2 so far this season in the races he's attended, and I can't think of any reason why he wouldn't be the person to watch out tonight as well.
Definitely one to keep an eye on. He and a few others have certainly become the big names of this series to keep an eye on anytime we fly that green flag. And let's take an onboard look around Road America with one Jason Lisner, and we'll take a look at the points of how they come into tonight as well. Jason Lisner, of course, had himself a 3rd place finish a week ago at Laguna Seca, falling in behind Elliot Skier and Billy Smith. A spirited battle between all of them. James Huth came home in 4th. Hamilton Smith got a top 5 finish. Mark Huth in 6th, and Leif Peterson rounded out the points-paying positions from Laguna Seca a week ago. In the overall picture, Billy Smith comes into tonight as the points leader. He stretched that points lead over James Huth up to 6 points. Michael Polesic there in 3rd with 22 points, about 12 points back. Elliot Skier 4th in the point standings with 20. Jason Lisner in 5th. So a pretty decent little points battle shaping up here with just a few races to go, James.
Yeah, the points battle, the racing has been more close than I think that any of us could have predicted when this series started up this year. Inaugural season here for the Porsche Club America Sim Racing Series, and I mean the competition, the racing, the points battle, all of it has just been top notch and so entertaining to watch.
As we've been riding on board with Jason Lisner around this long track, currently just started another lap down here. Into turn number 3. 14 turns around Road America, James. 5 to the left, 9 to the right. Lap time's taken about 2 minutes, 10 seconds or so on fresh set of tires, and those times will fall off just a little bit. But one of the fastest portions of the racetrack right here, this long run from turns 3 down to turn 5, the Moraine Sweep. Heavy braking zone here for the left-hander, and then you sort of work through the S's down into the carousel. Very important technical part of the racetrack as we see these guys do this, but plenty of passing opportunities available.
Absolutely, and the Corvette Bridge that Lisner just went under there, another really important spot that I think we're going to see a lot of action here today.
Certainly no shortage of places to make moves if you got the pace, but with that, warm-up session is complete. Cars starting to hit the track, and they will grid up. So let's take a look at tonight's starting lineup for round number 6 here at Road America. They will be led to the green flag by the number 45 of Michael Pulisic. To his outside on row number 1 will be the man we're riding on board with there at the end of warm-up, the 92 of Jason Lisner. Row number 2, rather, will feature Billy Smith and the man we talked to in tonight's guest interview, Elliott Skier. Row number 3 will be William Yu and Mark Huth. Row number 4, Christopher Pies and Leif Peterson. Row number 5 will be Richard Minkler and Matthew Kikas.
Hamilton Smith will be starting in the 11th spot. James Patek in the 12th spot outside of him. Liam Rositas will be starting in 13th. Joseph Stiefel will start in the 14th position. Trey Drawhorn will be starting in 15th. Kyle Kamer, always action wherever he goes, starts 16th tonight. Lynn Wilson will be starting 17th. Michelle Levesque will be starting 19th. And Shahib Kalesa will be starting in 20th.
Matty James will roll off from the 21st position. Stephen Cugliari there in 22nd. Jeremy Mazzariello, 23rd. Saw some calls for him already in the chat box. Some fans out there watching him. Eric McHugh in 24th. Brett Holmes, 25th. Kenny Brown from 26th. James Sue in 27th. Alberto Fonseca, 28th. Colin Thomas, 29th. David Stewart in 30th. And Brian O'Meara will round out this 31-car field for tonight's racing action. A very star-studded front of this field, James. We talked about Michael Pulisic, the problems that he had a week ago at Laguna Seca, the early leader, and then spun out on the entrance to the corkscrew, was never able to recover from that, but probably disappointment there, puts himself in the right position by once again being on the pole here at Road America.
Well, and I would say that was probably the first serious mistake that we've seen from Michael Pulisic this entire season. He's been up there solid on the podium every single week, and finally leading a race, and man, a lot of pressure, and just made that mistake into the corkscrew. Not the only person we saw get on the brakes too hard going into the corkscrew last week, but again, he's someone that he's ready for redemption. He's been running great this entire season. He's ready to get that first win.
Take a look at the track facts here for Road America. Of course, the total distance to get a lap around here, 4.048 miles. That's over 6.5 kilometers. Again, 14 turns, 5 to the left, 9 to the right. The long front straightaway, of course, James, one of the most exciting places for a restart because you have that long run down to a very tight 90-degree right-hander down into turn 1. But the exit of turn 14 when you're under the green conditions, so important to get down that front straightaway. A great passing opportunity there.
Oh, the front straightaway, especially that hill, I mean, it's so iconic going through here. And you watch some pacing going underneath the Johnsonville Speedville walkway and heading through the carousel. The carousel is such an interesting point of the track. There's so many different lines you could take through there, but it's so important to get a good run off the carousel because you're heading down through the bend, through the kink, through Kettle Bottoms, and then a hard braking point into Canada Corner. Canada Corner is another fantastic place to make a pass on this track, and definitely one of the better ones, but a very tricky corner to get right as well.
Absolutely. Another sharp corner after a long straightaway with high-end speed. And, of course, they're working down the kettle bottoms right now. The straightaway that isn't so straight in between turns 11 and 12, leading into Canada Corner. Then they go through Thunder Valley up to turn 13, which is the Bill Mitchell bend, and then sets up for the final right-hander. Turn 14, a slow corner leading onto that long front straightaway with that dramatic uphill take. Pit road on the right-hand side, and then they get to the start-finish line, and then we'll see how these guys get around here. Definitely going to have to be patient, definitely going to have to mind their P's and Q's, and the draft will play an effect down these straightaways, 3 long straightaways really to talk about, but the carousel between turn 9 and 10, always very fun to see them go through there the first couple of times when they're all bunched up. Going to be a lot of racing action to keep an eye on here throughout this 30-car field, and we'll do our best to bring it all to you to highlight all the passing and racing action. But the pace car is going to lead the field onto the front straightaway here. Happy to have you along with us for round number 6 of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series. Michael Pulisic is going to lead them to the green flag as they go up the hill into the restart zone. Jason Lisner hangs back just a little bit. Billy Smith, Elliott Skier there in row 2. Green flag in the air. We are underway here from Road America.
And we saw a little bit of bump there from Elliott Skier trying to get Jason Lisner to get a good run down this front straightaway, and they're making a lot of progress heading down in here to turn 1. A great side-by-side battle through the first turn for the lead.
Jason Lisner is going to be the one who gets away with the lead, takes it from Michael Pulisic. Skier falls into 3rd, Billy Smith there in 4th. Mark Huth slots into 5th. William Yu behind them in 6th as they all get through the first couple of corners. Free of an incident, big cluster back here. James Patak, Hamilton Smith, Liam Rudzitis, and Joseph Steifel fighting it out. They're 2 wide down. The straightaway from 3 to 4 into turn 5. This will be the first big braking zone for these guys at full speed to get into. We'll see if they can keep it clean.
Yeah, big braking zone, downhill, very hard.
Oh,
and you
no!
see number 171. Oh, we see, oh my gosh, Richard Minkler is going flipping here into the sand trap, going down through the Marine sweep into turn 5.
Yep, he got clipped by, that was Matthew Kikas in the number 15, who got the braking point wrong. The rear end steps out. He tries to save it and just tips over Richard Minkler. Dramatic fashion there. So our first DNF there for Minkler, as Kikas will continue on, but a big blow for Minkler not to even make it one full lap.
And we've seen this. These Porsches are having a really hard time. This is the default iRacing setup that we are using here, and you have to get that brake bias just right. And these guys, they're so close. These guys are all even. These cars are all specs, so they're trying to get every single little ounce out of these cars that they're able to. And we've seen these guys. Braking's been a big one that these guys are trying to take advantage of, and we've seen multiple guys losing under braking, just trying to get every little ounce out of that car that they can.
Look at the fight here for the second position. A lot of pressure being applied by the 14 of Elliott Skier to the back bumper of Michael Pulisic as Lisner drives away. Billy Smith in tow there as well. These top 4 have broke out just a little bit over Mark Huth in 5th, and a bigger gap back to William Yu there in 6th. So the run up the hill for the first time to complete lap number 1. It's going to be Jason Lisner who's going to be credited with the lead. Look at the big defensive move there from Michael Pulisic, giving the outside to Elliott Skier. That's the way to defend there into turn 1. Obviously, the right-hander, you want to be on the inside groove. Skier knows what he's doing and will fall back in line and try and get the crossover. Perfect execution right there, James, off of turn number 1 as they set up for turn 3.
Exactly, and we're going to see Elliott Skier get a great break there. Oh, they're going to make a very, very close racing off of turn number 3, and they're still going to battle. A great exit there by Michael Pulisic, getting a great rundown here through turn 4, now heading into the Marine sweep. Heavy braking zone. We saw the trouble here the lap before. And let's see who's going to come out ahead. And they're going to make just a tiny bit of contact, but they're going to keep it straight. Give the position there to Elliott Skier as we head underneath the Corvette Bridge.
Close quarters racing as Pulisic tries to get that spot back. You couldn't fit a sheet of paper from the right front quarter panel to the left rear of Skier. So, job well done. Put Elliott Skier up to the second position. Bad news for the rest of the field.
Back here, we have James Patak around, and we also have Liam Rudzitis with them.
Yeah. Oof, that's tough for both of them. Not as big a contact for the two of them as they will graze the inside wall, but looked like an over-aggressive move from Liam Rudzitis as Patak got a little bit of a shake, I think, from the 07. Indeed, it was from William Yu, and that opened the door for Rudzitis, and For Patak, he was already out of shape. Nothing he could really do. They'll both carry on, but they'll lose a few positions. In the meanwhile, they'll fall back outside of the top 20. Patak to 24th, Rodzitis to 26th. Bad news there, just wrong place, wrong time, as Jason Lisner continues to lead this field through Canada Corner.
Yeah, as we head now through Thunder Valley and the Bill Mitchell Bend, Elliott Skier, and we've seen him here every single time he's been on track this season. He has been fast, and he has been getting the most out of this Porsche Cup car. Now running down your leader of Jason Lisner. I think this is the first race that we've seen Lisner lead so far this year. He's got a lot of great speed here, but again, we're seeing that long straightaway. You see that great draft that Elliott Skier is getting down here. He's going to close up that gap here, heading down into turn number 1. I wonder why Road America actually has this listed as turn number 2. Is there even?
That's a slight bend.
It's a slight. Yeah, it's a slight bend.
Exaggerated.
Yeah, it's well,
it's like last week at Laguna Seca, James, where you have the front straightaway, and actually turn 1 is the slight bend to the left before the Andretti hairpin, which is turn 2. It's a similar sort of thing, I guess.
Well, I guess so, but I mean, I've seen some sharper turns that are counted as turns before. So just gotta love how these tracks like to label their turns. And again, Road America is another great one. I love when the racetracks get names for a lot of the corners and a lot of the straightaways. That just these historic tracks just have so much history to them. And heading down now through the Hurry Downs, we're following Elliott Skier, still closing in on Jason Lisner. And then through the carousel, just had so much character and so fun going to some of these historic tracks.
Yeah, the racing started here in Elkhart Lake back in the 1950s, and it wasn't too many years later that they built this racetrack just to the southeast of actual Elkhart Lake to fill that gap, to get them out of the streets of Elkhart Lake and onto a purpose-built racetrack, and they've been racing here ever since. I think they host over 425 events a year here at Road America, so a feverish racing town. Again, a very small town, but they do love their racing, as this top 4 has absolutely hooked up, and it's just a big train around Road America right now. The pace amongst all 4 super close. Looking at the lap times, all running within a couple of tenths of a second of one another. It's about 2 seconds back from Billy Smith in 4th to 5th place. Mark Huth, Christopher Pies hanging on in 6th. Leif Peterson 7th. William Yu in 8th. Joseph Steifel 9th. And Hamilton Smith rounds out the top 10. But these top 4, much like we've seen all year, have been the real big players each and every week. And to your earlier point, Jason Lisner leading a race for the first time. But look at the toe down the front straight from Elliott Skier. Will he duck out of line? No, not this time, but he certainly closed that gap.
And I'm watching back here a battle now between Alberto Fonseca and the number 05 of Liam Rodzitis. These guys are continuing their battle that they had last week at Laguna Seca. They're bringing it right here to Elkhart Lake. And man, these guys, every time we see them on track, these two are right next to each other, and they're always racing each other so hard. It's always so fun to watch these two racing. I don't know what type of they got magnets in their cars, but we always see Alberto and Liam right next to each other this season.
Yeah, they certainly put on a whale of a show a week ago at Laguna Seca, and once again they have found themselves as dancing partners here at Road America. Saw Elliott Skier give a little bit of a peek down that long straightaway between turns 3 and 5. Got to count turn 4 there as well, that slight right-hander, James. I know, much to your chagrin, much like turn 2. It's an exaggeration to call that a turn, but they do nonetheless, as these top 4 work through the Hurry Downs and now will work through the carousel. This long sweeping right-hander, sort of a double apex corner. You can really sail it in there, let the car ride up, and then have to wait on it, pull it back down to the bottom and get a good run up to the kink in turn 11. And turn 11, James, in my opinion, one of the hardest corners to get right lap after lap here. You feel like you want to carry more speed, but you really have to cut a lot in order to get through there and give yourself a good run down the kettle bottoms.
Yeah, these guys here really getting a I can't believe how close the top 4 are already. And these, again, have been the guys that we've been seeing racing all season long. The only person that we're missing right now is James Huth, who I don't believe has made this race, but he's the guy that's been up there racing, currently second in points right now. been again, these 4 have been up there all season long. And in Jason Lisner, again, currently 5th in points right now, right behind Elliott Skier for that, only 4 points back. But again, everywhere that we look, these 4 have been up front and putting on a great show all season long. Doesn't matter what track we've been to, these guys just have skill no matter what type of track that we're going and racing on. And we've had quite the array of tracks so far this season too. Remember starting at the season at Sebring, probably the bumpiest track that we go to. COTA, brand new, very hilly, very flowy. Then we have essentially the short track at Lime Rock Park, and then back to Watkins Glen, Laguna Seca, and then out here to Road America. Really no similarities between any of these tracks. Very different styles of driving between all of them, as we're seeing Michael Polasek and Billy Smith battling there into the corner now, going underneath the Corvette Bridge. But these guys, it doesn't matter where they've been putting on a great show all season long, and they have been fast.
Certainly have been fast, as Billy Smith has been trying to figure out a way past Michael Polasek to no avail. He had a peak down the front straightaway, had a peak going down into turn number 5. Just nothing doing for the time being, as Skier continues to stalk his prey in Jason Lisner for the lead. That gap stuck at about 0.3 of a second. No real opportunity here. Next passing zone, of course, down into Canada Corner if he can get a good run and get that toe after they get through the kink. So the top 2 have pulled away from the next 2 in line. I think Polasek has a little bit less pace overall. Billy Smith biding his time, being very patient to execute this pass, but I think Smith is a little bit quicker. He just keeps catching Polasek in the wrong place into these braking zones. Isn't quite close enough to pull something off. Next opportunity they'll get will be, of course, on the front straightaway, but give a call to Jason Lisner. He continues to lead. Took the lead away on the first lap from Polasek, who was the pole sitter, and hasn't looked back since. 5 laps up on the board, coming to start lap number 6, anticipating about 20 to 21 laps of total racing action here tonight for their 45 minutes. Already 11 minutes into the books here, and for the 5th time they'll go across the start-finish line. Starting lap number 6, Elliott Skier looking for a bit of that draft down the front straightaway, but just not enough there for him to make a move into turn 1.
Well, and Billy Smith is going to have a big battle ahead of him. Well, as I say that, he's going to get a run down through the turn, heading now into turn number 3. They're going to battle side by side, but that's the one thing that I was about to make a comment on. No one has been able to drive into the corner harder and with more speed than Michael Polasek this season. So the place that you make a lot of passes is going to be into the corner. And right now, no one has been better at Michael Polasek at that this season. So Billy Smith is going to have a very difficult time getting in front of that 45 here this race.
The defense continues for that 3rd position. Smith still not able to get around the 45, Michael Polasek, and he's given it everything he can, but just cannot make it stick, as he got a great run out of turn 1 last time through and just could not make it handle well enough on the exit of turn 3 down the straightaway to clear the 45. So one more time he will have to sit behind him through the long sweeping right-hander of turn number 9. The carousel set up this pass one more time. Really inspiring stuff here amongst the top 4, and we've talked about it a few times, and I'm sure we'll mention it a few more times before we're done here tonight. These 4 have been the big players pretty much all year, and as you said, James Huth not here tonight. He would be the 5th power player if we're going to name him. Not here in the picture, but he would certainly be up in the mix if he was. As Lisner goes a little bit more defensive line into Canada Corner, I think he's starting to feel that as he runs a little bit wide.
Well, and also Billy Smith is going to have to they are losing touch with those leaders, and with as long as these straightaways are and how much of a role the draft plays, if you're Billy Smith, you need to get around that 45 car very quickly. You cannot allow those top 2 to get away. If you do not jump on there now, you're going to have to need a lot of luck in order to catch back up to them, or you're going to need them to battle really hard in order to make up that time.
He jumps to the outside into turn one, not going to be the optimal way. If he can pinch Pulisic down, is exactly what he's done there. Now he's sort of switched the roles of where he was a lap ago, and he will clear before they get down into turn three. Pulisic will send it up the inside, trying to get the spot back. Billy Smith hanging tough on the left-hand side through the right-hander. He'll get the better run down this straightaway, and he'll be in the optimal position for the left-hander down at turn number 5. So Billy Smith, as if he heard you himself, making that move to attack, realizing that Jason Lisner and Elliott Skier are pulling away. Look at how hard Pulisic drives it down into turn 5, trying to defend Billy Smith. Right there gives him a tap. That was almost inevitable. Straightens him out and will drive away. But for as hard as Pulisic was driving and defending, it was almost too good to be true that they weren't going to make contact down there.
Well, if you're Billy Smith, I am desperate right now. I just lost a second that last lap. I'm seeing those top two drive away. I know that Michael Pulisic is able to get into the corner so well, and I need to do everything I can. I need to make my move now. And again, we saw the power of that 45 car underneath the brakes into that turn, and just a little bit of contact there. But again, Billy Smith, I felt like he was in that desperation mode, and he needed to make a move right then and there if he wanted to have any chance of catching these two. But it might be a little too late to do the right thing now.
As Billy Smith runs completely wide on the exit of the kink, not the optimal way to get through there. Not sure how that right front damage now is going to affect the car. Certainly going to affect the handling and the corner speed that he can keep up, but I think you're right. That's a move he absolutely had to make, and I don't think he did anything wrong for the positioning that he was in going into turn 5 and how hard Pulisic drove it down into the braking zone on the opposite side of where you really want to be. Didn't really give Billy Smith a whole lot to work with there, and Smith trying to complete that pass. Well, it was just a matter of inches, and they touched, but Smith was able to straighten him out. Fair enough. We'll see if he's able to drive away, but another note I want to make here as we look at Elliott Skier closing on the back bumper of Jason Lisner one more time, much like he did last time, does not make an attempt to pass. Even last time by down the front straightaway, James, he was pushing him like it was a locked tandem down the front straightaway to increase both of their overall speeds. So 2 times in a row, he's had an opportunity to poke to the inside and make a pass, and he has absolutely not done that. I wonder if it's just not wanting to push the issue, and he's faster in second place right now with the draft of Lisner, or something else.
Well, I think that with Darrell Waltrip making his retirement announcement this week, that it would be an opportune time to use one of his favorite phrases. That's what we call co-opetition. Elliott Skier right now realizes that he needs to work with Jason Lisner. He sees those two battling back there, and right now I know that I'm faster than that 92 car. But if I can help the 92 and we could get a gap on the 70 and the 45, and this could just be me and him, and he's the only other driver I need to worry about for the rest of this race, then that's going to be okay. I could go ahead and bide my time. I could work with 92. I can make sure that this is a two-dog fight, and we can move off and settle this amongst ourselves, because he knows that Billy Smith is fast. He races with Billy Smith in real life. He knows that if that 70 car, if he gets an opportunity, he's going to try and make a move, and he has a good chance of getting it done. And we also seen how well that 45 car and how much speed he's had this entire season too. If I have the opportunity to eliminate those two from a chance of victory, I will absolutely help out someone that I plan on racing with later. So co-opetition.
There you have it. We'll keep an eye on this battle up front. It's been fun to watch. Let's slide back a little bit further in the field and take a look at how some of these other drivers are getting along here at Road America. Let's focus in on 14th, 15th, and 16th. That's Stephen Cugliari, Sahib Khalsa, and Lynn Wilson working down into Canada corner. Let's throw in Matty James for good measure as well. This 4-car fight really interesting. Jeremy Mazzariello right there in 17th, as well as Wilson and Khalsa do battle. These guys are in a tight little pack just in the midfield here as we're past the 1/3 mark in this race. As they work through turn number 14 onto the front straightaway, Lynn Wilson trying to size up the 3 in front of you of Khalsa down the front straightaway, trying to get that draft. It's Cugliari and Matty James drive away. These drivers all having a great battle, and that's sort of been the theme that we've seen week in and week out here, James. The guys up front are battling amongst themselves, but as we scroll further back into the field and look at some of these other fights, these guys find these pockets to race in where the pace matches it. As Wilson overshoots turn 1 terribly there in the 23. He'll run it out to the grass. He's able to recover better than most people would in that situation. He'll give up a few spots. Mazzariello will move through as well. So put Mazzariello up to the 16th position, Wilson back to 17th. But we get these little pockets of racing as these guys find each other on the track, and it makes for some really exciting stuff to watch.
Well, and it's been the same guys week in and week out. Right now, I'm watching the number 5 of Hamilton Smith and the 10 of Christopher Pies. Right now, battle for the 7th position. Hamilton Smith made a great move going down the front stretch that time to get in front of the 10. And I've been watching Hamilton Smith off and on for the last few laps, and he's been making a lot of moves up through the field. Again, started this race in 11th and now is up to the 7th position. Hamilton Smith has a lot of speed here, and I don't think that he's too far away from working his way up to the 913 of Leif Peterson and the 34 of Mark Huth.
Another little knot of race cars here. The 44 of Alberto Fonseca, Kyle Kamer, and David Stewart absolutely running in a pack here. Side by side, Kamer and Fonseca. Not easy to do at all these corners as Fonseca will run a little bit wide, and here comes the 06 of Brett Holmes as well. This fight for 21st, 22nd, 23rd through the carousel. Working lap number 9 right now here at Road America. So these guys mixing it up just outside of the top 20. Kyle Kamer in the 888 will lead them through off of the carousel into the kink. He's trying to chase down David Stewart in that 914, giving a great run. Kamer in the 888. A lot of pressure from Alberto Fonseca, much like we saw a week ago at Laguna Seca.
You know, if there are two drivers here that we should keep a camera on at all times because there's always action, there's always crazy and daring moves, it's been the number 44 and the 888 this season. And now they're racing side by side. This is a battle that I definitely want to watch for a little bit. Kyle Kamer and Alberto Fonseca, again, have made some really entertaining racing so far this season. I see Kyle Kamer have a lot of speed now and slowly start working his way up. The next person he's going to be working on is going to be that 914 of David Stewart. But yeah, this is a great little scrap we got going on.
Very fun stuff to watch as these guys battle it out just outside of the top 20. And, you know, they show up each and every week. Maybe, you know, not feeling the best about getting the top 7 for a points-paying position, but that does not curtail the racing passion that they have or how much effort they're putting out there fighting amongst themselves. This is what they live and breathe for each and every week, to come out here and prove themselves and race against these guys. You know, if you get pipped by one guy a week ago and you feel that you were faster than him and a mistake, you know, cost you that spot, you want to try and get him back that next week. And I think that's the really engaging part about this format. Week after week, they come out different racetracks, same car, and you end up racing around the same guys. So you really build that familiarity as they work through turn number 5 now. Kamer right on the back bumper of David Stewart. He sure caught him in a hurry. So Stewart out in front of this little train, but Kamer looking to overtake as Stewart locks up a little bit through the Corvette bridge section. That's a very easy place, sort of off camber there, James, to lock up a wheel, and you see the effect that it had.
Yep, and I'm going back to the battle we were talking about a lap ago. Hamilton Smith and Christopher Pies. Holy cow, these guys won that 7th position. We've seen them swap it multiple times here over the last couple corners. Christopher Pies taking that position back over the number 5 of Hamilton Smith. Now heading through Canada Corner, now going through Thunder Alley and the Bill Mitchell Bend. And I bet you we're going to see Hamilton Smith make another move here on that 10 of Christopher Pies going down the front straightaway here.
Yep, a great little fight here between these two just outside of that points-paying position. Remember, the top 7 are the only ones who get points at the end of the race. So this fight for 8th and 9th between Smith and Yu down the front straightaway. Pies able to get away there. I'm not sure Smith is going to be able to.
Oh, no, he doesn't.
Have enough.
Smith is coming back. He's been doing this the last few laps. I've been watching him. Give him a couple quarters. He's going to be right back on the number 10 car.
Yeah, well, I'm more saying he didn't have enough draft to make a move down into turn 1 there, so he's going to have to set up and wait for the next passing opportunity. But if you can hang right on the back bumper and you see just how much better he gets into turn 3 there, gives himself that opportunity now to be close enough to enjoy the benefit of the draft on the run down to turn number 5, James. So this is the opportunity that he needed, much better than what he had going into turn 1.
Oh, yeah, and wow, an aggressive move there on the outside. I'm glad that he backed out of that one because that was not going to work out. A smart move there by Hamilton. He thought about it, and I appreciate him thinking about it. But, yeah, that just going to save up and and try again here in the next couple corners. But we saw him make a move down into heading down through the hurry downs into turn 8 that last time, and that's also allowing the 07 of William Yu to get caught up to him also.
And bring another car into it. This fight just inside of the top 10 again, and William Yu trying to assert himself into one of those positions. These guys sitting about Christopher Pies, again, that last points-paying position, so definitely a lot on the line here. If Hamilton Smith or William Yu can close into them, Joseph Stiefel there in the 10th position, about 2 seconds back from William Yu right now. So he's going to have to find a new gear in that 003 if he's going to catch up to these guys to fight for that 7th position, but certainly a lot on the line. Bragging rights a point. At the end of the day, if you can finish in that 7th position, as we get past the halfway point now. So let's take a look at tonight's iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing. As they work lap number 11, it is Jason Lisner in the lead, as he has been for the entirety of this race. Elliott Skier still stalking him right on the back bumper in 2nd. Billy Smith in 3rd. Michael Pulesic in 4th. Mark Huth in 5th. Leif Peterson in 6th. Christopher Pies 7th. Hamilton Smith in 8th. William Yu 9th. And Joseph Stiefel in 10th.
In the 11th position, we have Robert Wilson, Michelle Levesque in the 12th spot, Matty James currently in the 13th position, Stephen Cuglieri in the 14th spot, Shahib Kales in the 15th spot, Lynn Wilson has worked his way up to the 16th position, Trey Drawhorn in 17th, Liam Redzitis in that 18th position, Kyle Kamer currently runs the 19th, and Brett Holmes in 20th.
21st is going to belong to Alberto Fonseca, James Sue in 22nd, Kenny Brown 23rd, Colin Thomas in 24th, Jeremy Mazzariello 25th. Last car on the lead lap, David Stewart has fallen back to 26th, 1 lap down. Eric McHugh in 27th, 2 laps off the pace. James Patak 28th, Matthew Kikas 29th. Richard Mankler was, of course, the first car out of this race. He will finish in 30th and last. And that has been a look at tonight's iRacing Midway Race Break, with over 80,000 drivers on the service and over 80 laser scan tracks and cars to choose from. iRacing is the original esports racing game. For more information, visit iRacing.com today. And also want to remind you that the Porsche Club of America has more than 2,000 licensed drivers and 32 sanctioned races per year. PCA Club Racing provides classes for all Porsche sports cars so that members can enjoy safe, clean, and organized racing. For more information, visit www.pcaclubracing.com. Look at the fight up front for the lead one more time. Nothing changed there. Skier still refusing to make a pass for the lead on Jason Lisner, either trying to force him into a mistake or just worry him to death, one of the two.
Well, you have to keep in mind, too, that since Billy Smith has cleared that battle of the 45 of Michael Pulisic for that 3rd position, he has slowly been working his way back up and closing in that time. So if I'm Elliott Skier, I'm seeing that gap close down a little bit. I'm going to continue working with Jason Lisner until I see the last possible moment. And we're seeing, again, going down the front straight. Let's see if he makes a move here, if he's going to give another bump draft or just gets up close there into turn 1. Don't want to bump him going into the turn. But, yeah, I believe that Elliott Skier, again, is just is working with the 92 of Jason Lisner and just biding his time to make sure that this does not become a 3-car battle.
And as we've been watching this racing around the track, I want to give a call to the man who provides the cameras to us. That's Istvan Bal-O. Track Cams for Gourmets. You can check out his products today at www.trackcams22.com. Istvan Bal-O and Track Cams for Gourmets. Big thanks to those guys for giving us all these great views around Road America. Happy to have you here on the iRacing Sports Network with Podium Esports. David Schildhouse here, James Krahula calling this one. It's been a very entertaining battle throughout this field as we're past the halfway point. As we start to wind down into these crunch time moments for Jason Lisner, he has been leading this thing since we got underway. Billy Smith still sitting about 2.5 seconds back off of Elliott Skier, and he hasn't really driven away from Michael Pulisic after that little exchange. So much like we've seen throughout the entirety of this race so far, James, the 4 drivers really in control, but Lisner and Skier locked nose to tail right now, and it's probably not a matter of if but when for Elliott Skier to make that move for the lead.
Well, and we're sitting up here and we're watching, and Race Control is also I think making a brilliant observation too, that I believe that he can make that move on Jason Lisner whenever he wants to. I believe what he's trying to do though is to try and keep that gap open on the 70 of Billy Smith. The problem is that Billy Smith is still gaining on him, so I believe that Elliott Skier is going to have to make a move here sooner rather than later, especially if that gap gets down below 2 seconds. He's going to need to try and hurry and make that move and try and run away and use the 92 car as a pick and hope that Billy Smith can't get by him.
Normally, James, when James Pike is in the booth with me, I'm the one that gets to call out when we roll out our trivia. But since Mr. Pike is still on holiday, you are here in his stead. I will lend you the opportunity here this week to do exactly that, because we do have a trivia question. So what do you say, partner? You want to fire up our friend?
I think that's great, because also we're in Elkhart Lake. And you know what that means. Cue the Chuck!
Well done indeed. Tonight's trivia question, as we have just about 15 minutes or so left in this one, is going to come to you regarding the PCA. A couple of rules, of course. Employees and contractors of Podium Esports are not eligible. Only the first response from participants will be counted.
Oh, contact! That's for your lead. That was Jason Lisner and Elliott Skier.
We'll come back to trivia. Yep, there goes Jason Lisner. There goes Billy Smith as well, as we will hold off on the trivia for the time being. And it looks like just a little miscalculation into the braking zone. Perhaps Lisner moved over just a little bit, but that's going to shake things up, put Billy Smith up to the lead. Pulisic up into second. Now Skier third. Lisner in fourth, way back from all this. So that all went upside down really quickly as we flip-flopped the entire top four.
Yeah, and you know what? I believe that that's just what we've seen Elliott Skier. I believe that he's just been trying to be patient and not trying to pull out and make a move there on the 92. And I believe that he just missed his marks just by a little bit, or the 92 just braked a little bit earlier than he normally does. And Elliott Skier was not ready for it, and he just made that contact. You saw him try and move out. He wasn't trying to make a move. I just think that he misjudged that braking zone, and it sent the 92 around. And we saw the self-policing there. We'll see if there's any more that comes down from Race Control on that. But right now, Elliott Skier is in the third position, and look at Billy Smith now. Your points leader is now leading another one.
Yeah, great for Billy Smith. And much like we saw the situation in Watkins Glen, where there was a tangle between the leaders and that self-policing came into play here, I'm not sure. Taking a couple looks at it, it looks like it was just a late move over, just a little bit of that. What'd you call it? It was the what's that driver's name?
The Pruitt fade.
The Pruitt fade. A little bit of the Pruitt fade going down into turn 5 from Jason Lisner, and he might have a different point of view. If he makes it into the top 3, we can talk to him about it. But I think Skier tried to give him the opportunity to right the ship and get back underway, feeling bad about the contact. But you got to think here, James, back to how he's just been hanging off the back bumper. Perhaps maybe looking back on it now, not the best strategy to keep that margin of error so little between the two of them, especially down to that braking zone.
Yeah, and again, I don't think that he wasn't trying to make a move. It was just a complete misjudgment. One of them did something different that the other one was not expecting. Whether it's either the 92 slowing up early, or we're going to see a little bit Elliott Skier more down into turn 5. That's been one of the more exciting. That's going to be the highlight reel, is just keep a camera there in turn 5 this race. That has been the place to watch. But we see more action down there through there. Michael Pulisic is going to hold off the charge there from Elliott Skier, and Billy Smith is just kind of riding off into the sunset right now.
Yeah, Smith's going to have a big grin on his face seeing these guys battle, but Skier really going to have to step it up now. Whatever he was holding back earlier in this event, he cannot afford to do that now, as Pulisic continues to give him an absolute headache all around this racetrack. And he'll get the good toe here down into the kink, but is he going to try and make that move? That's bold if he does, thinks about it, and then thinks better. Better to set it up here down into Canada corner, and he is close enough to strike at this point. Pulisic not able to make enough of a move to cover the position on the inside, so here comes Elliott Skier back through to the right-hand side, into Canada corner. Should be the preferred lane through. If he can squeeze him out, indeed, will clear him on corner exits. So put Skier back up to second, but looking and timing and scoring almost 4 seconds between he and Billy Smith. If he's going to make that up, he's only got about 12 minutes to do it.
Yeah, and I don't think what he was trying to do, I don't think he is actually trying to make a move into kink. I believe that he was really just trying to make the 45 kind of second guess and kind of hesitate going through that turn, and that's exactly what he did. He got the run off of the kink and then down through Kettle Bottoms and got that preferred line there in Canada quarter. It's not over, though. We have that draft going down the front straightaway here. As Michael Polasek, no, the 45 is not going to be able to do anything with him. He's going to be right there on the back bumper. A little bit of contact, but give that position still to Elliott Skier. I believe that this is his opportunity to try and run down to 70. But again, you said 4 seconds. That's a tall ask here when we only have a little over 11 minutes to go.
Indeed, he's going to have to put together probably 5 of the best laps he can conjure up here around Road America. That's about what they have left at this point next time by, 5 laps or so. Down into turn 5 he will go. He really is going to have to step it up, pull away from Michael Pulesic, not have to worry about being under assault from him, because the more he has to defend, the less he's going to be able to gain on Billy Smith. That's no slouch out in front. More wins than anybody here, Billy Smith, I believe, or perhaps tied with Elliott Skier, I should say, at 2 apiece. But Billy Smith looking to go back to victory lane, inherits the lead in a weird twist of fate. But now, again, 4 seconds the gap between he and Elliott Skier. So we saw these two do battle at Circuit of the Americas, and Skier eventually won out with a dramatic late race pass there. Not sure there's enough time for Skier to get back up there, even with all the skill that he has. Billy Smith, certainly very fast, and I have to imagine that Skier did a little bit of damage to those tires as well. As he runs wide out of the carousel, you can tell how hard he is pushing.
Yeah, well, and also you have to also keep in mind the championship. Elliott Skier, this is only his 3rd race of the season, but 2 wins every single time that he's come out. So that means that he is in still a fantastic points position, even with Billy Smith, that if he were to go out there and get those wins, he was definitely going to have a chance of maybe catching Billy Smith if he's able to make these last couple races. But now with Billy Smith out in front, that is really going to hurt Elliott Skier's championship hopes as well. So a huge turn of events now from Elliott Skier having a great chance to close in on the points to now losing out on Billy Smith. And it might be, it won't mathematically eliminate him, I don't believe, here tonight, but definitely putting him in a bad position. And yeah, only gaining a 10th that last lap. Elliott Skier right now might just have to settle for 2nd.
It might be his destiny here tonight to finish 2nd after riding there for so long, simply just in the wake of Jason Lisner, seemingly playing some games with him if he was holding some back, trying to force Lisner into a mistake. And then that mistake happened down into turn number 5 a few laps ago as they both went around. Lisner still holding on to that 4th spot, and he's got quite the gap back to 5th place Leif Peterson, sitting at about 3 seconds. So no immediate danger for Lisner, although he's going to miss out on a podium finish unless something goes wrong in front of him. Mark Huth still in 6th. Hamilton Smith, Christopher Pies, that awesome battle we saw earlier has settled itself out. William Yu, Joseph Stiefel round out the top 10. Good battle here as we slide a little bit further back just outside the top 10. Michelle Levesque and Maddie James fighting for 11th and 12th out of turn 3 as they go down the long straightaway. On the run down to turn 5, Maddie James enjoying that toe. He'll move to the left-hand side of Michelle Levesque. So the 16 and the 77 doing battle here into turn 5. Will they keep it clean? James on the inside, a little bit of a lockup from Levesque, and that's all that James is going to need. He will clear and take over that 11th spot.
Yeah, and going back up, you're talking about them a few minutes ago, Leif Peterson and Mark Huth. Mark Huth has been able to move up and gain that time on that 913 of Leif Peterson, and now they have a great battle going on for that 5th position. Now heading down through the kink, heading down through Kettle Bottom, and again, the Mark that 34 car, he has found some speed here late, and he's closed that gap here to the 913. He had a great chance and a great run going down the front straightaway that last lap by. Let's see what he's able to make happen this time by, but right now, a great battle going on for 5th.
A good battle indeed. Leif Peterson, Mark Huth going at it there for 5th and 6th. Inside the points paying position through turn 13, they will go onto the front straightaway. See if Huth can sniff some of that draft down this front stretch. as Peterson punches the big hole in the air. And with things seemingly a little bit calm, I think we can get back to the trivia that we tried to do before all the craziness broke out down in turn 5 between Elliott Skier and Jason Lisner. So, to the trivia we go. We've already summoned Chuck. We won't do it a second time. Let's get the trivia out of the way. As we said, the rules: employees and contractors not eligible. Only the first response will be counted, so choose your answer wisely. Any responses subsequently from the same person will be deleted in chat. And the question goes as such. A multiple choice question, so choose wisely on the choices. How many PCA events are held across North America each year? Is it under 1,000, around 2,500, or is it over 3,500? How many PCA events are held across North America each year? Under 1,000, around 2,500, or over 3,500? Put your answers in the chat box. The first correct one that we see, we will call you out, and you will win a PCA Grill badge. So get those answers in the chat right now. So we continue to watch this fight between Leif Peterson and Mark Huth. That fight not going away. For that 5th and 6th position, James, we're getting down to the closing minutes. 6 minutes to go by my count. Maybe time for 3 more laps for Billy Smith, and he has stretched that lead out on nearly 5 seconds at this point over Elliott Skier. So I'm not sure Skier's got enough speed in that 14 to claw back Billy Smith, but these fights inside the top 7 still pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. This is a great battle going on right now. Multiple good battles going on throughout the field, and glad that we finally got back to trivia. Poor Chuck, he got paused mid waddle and just had to stand there awkwardly and wait for us to start talking about him again. So he's finally breathing now. He's back in the lake and quite happy. How are those answers coming though, David?
Looks like we have a winner. Ben Fica, 8,200, the first to put in the correct answer over 3,500 will be the winner there. Jim Hemmig on the ball, seeing it as well. So congratulations, Ben Fica, 82. Apologies if I did not get the pronunciation right, but you are a winner here tonight for trivia. Jem will get up with you to figure out how to arrange your winnings of a PCA Grill badge. Thank you for participating. We'll bring back trivia again next week right here on the iRacing Esports Network. 5 minutes or so to go now for these guys around Road America, and what has been a topsy-turvy event. Just when we thought we had this thing all sorted out and figured out that Lisner and Skier were doing their thing and Skier was just biding his time, it all goes wrong. Billy Smith inherits the lead and has now grown it into the closing laps here. Seems to be destined for another win through being in the right place at the right time, as those had misfortune around him. Huth and Peterson continue to battle for 5th and 6th, looking further back in the field as well. Robert Wilson, Stephen Cugliari going at it. Cugliari will get past Robert Wilson in the 171 down into turn 3. That fight for 13th and 14th. That one is done and dusted as well. And James, you talk about what's going on here tonight. And for Jason Lisner, the first time leading a PCA race, seemingly in a great position to walk away with a win if Elliott Skier was unable to make that pass, and then it all just goes wrong. What do you imagine he's feeling right now?
That is, to me, I'm going to be mad. Tomorrow, I'm going to feel confident. I know that I came out here and I ran a great race. I was in the thick of it. I was having the best run. You're always mad, but also you feel confident and everything, knowing that, all right, cool, I had the speed here. I can compete with these guys, and you just come back even more motivated here next week. So I think that the Jason Lisner next week when we head to Summit Point, I believe that he's going to be a guy. He's going to be a man on a mission, and I believe that he's going to come back here and have a lot of speed here next week. I believe that he's going to use that anger to fuel him to another great finish next week.
Of course, there's going to be two sides to the story as we've got 2 laps to go at this point. 2 sides to the story of what happened on the run down to turn 5. Well, we'll say there's 3 sides to the story. There's, of course, Jason Lisner's side, there's Elliott Skier's side, and somewhere in between those 2 is probably going to be the truth. And only those 2 right now know what happened from their perspective. Was it a mistake on Skier's part? Was it a sort of late fade into the corner to try and defend for Jason Lisner, realizing Skier was there, or some combination of the 2? We'll have the opportunity, it would appear, to talk to Elliott Skier in the post-race show and hear at least his side of it. But for Jason Lisner, definitely very disappointing to see a run go bad. And that's 2 weeks in a row where the leader gets into trouble. Of course, last week it was Michael Polasek who ran into trouble at Laguna Seca up there in the corkscrew. And for Lisner, he was riding that momentum of a third-place finish from a week ago. Seems to be destined for a fourth-place finish. He's going to be unable to reel in Michael Polasek. As Polasek and Skier continue to fight for second place here, it's going to be white flag next time by for Billy Smith as he works through the carousel, but the fight for second far from over.
Yeah, and, Elliott Skier, he definitely ruined those tires. Definitely made him angry when he was trying to desperately try and get back up there. He had a chance to try and get back up there and rebattle for the lead, but the battle with the 45 of just wind up taking too much out of those tires, lost a little bit too much time, and you make that last little bit to try and gain, and there comes a certain point and everything where you want to have heat in the tires for them to have grip, but at a certain point they get overheated, and you run the good out of them, and all you can do is back off the pace a little bit, let them cool down, and again, that's not what you need to do right when it comes down to the part of the race that pays the points and pays the bills.
Indeed, as the white flag is out over Road America, Billy Smith, one more lap around 4 miles separates him from another win here in the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series. And it was a quiet run by all measurements for him as he battled with Michael Polasek tooth and nail. Of course, an eventful run to Turn 5 between he and Polasek again. Polasek probably never wants to see Turn 5 here at Road America ever again, as he came out on the losing end both times down into it, or the one time with Billy Smith down into it, I should say, is that contact sent him back into the 4th position, and of course now got promoted up to 3rd after Jason Lisner's issues. Billy Smith fought his way through. We talked about, James, how he needed to be aggressive, how he needed to turn up the wick because Lisner and Skier were driving away. He did that, got up to 3rd, and then by way of being back just far enough when the top two tangled, took away that lead, and he has not looked back since then.
Yeah, and sometimes I'd rather be lucky than good. Right now, Billy Smith had a 3rd-place car and is going to wind up with the victory here. And the fastest car doesn't always win, but the car that constantly puts themselves into the in a good position winds up being a little more lucky than others. So that's the important thing is. Just because you don't have the speed of that top two, well, you always need to keep trying because you never know what's going to unfold in front of you. And, Jason Lisner, too, he's going to come home probably with a 4th-place finish here, though the Lee Peterson and Mark Huth have caught him a little bit. I believe that he still has enough of a gap. He's had a great run today. I know he's going to be angry after this, but still a fantastic showing.
Certainly has been good for Billy Smith. As you said, sometimes better be lucky than good, but he has been both here tonight as he has held up the pace and held off the field through turn 14 for the final time, eyeballing his 3rd checkered flag of the season. Billy Smith came into Road America looking to make his statement, and he has done exactly that. He will best his friend Elliott Skier and the rest of the field up the hill for the final time, waves it against the pit wall. Billy Smith across the line first and wins here at Road America. Elliott Skier will get to the line 2nd. Michael Polasek there in 3rd. And Jason Lisner will make the run up the hill. You got to feel for him. Led the majority of the early portion of this race, but it will only be good enough for a 4th-place finish. Leif Peterson right there behind him in 5th. Mark Huth across the lines. We slide back through the field, look for any other compelling battles across the line. Take a look at Robert Wilson, Stephen Cugliari here for the final time into turn 14. Good little battle for 13th and 14th. It looks like Cugliari will hold onto it, but of course, he runs a little bit wide. Here comes Robert Wilson on the gas. This is going to be a side-by-side battle up the hill, James.
Yeah, a great side-by-side battle up the hill. And Robert Wilson is barely going to edge out Stephen Cugliari. A fantastic finish there.
So good indeed. Again, not for points, but for a little bit of pride on the line, and Wilson will win out there. Sorry to see you there, James. I know you weren't expecting that, as we were a lot of racing to look at here. But, as one of those finishes that didn't even need words put to it, to be honest, the pictures did the justice there, as everyone else will wrap their way around Road America to finish up their final lap. And as they do that, I think we can safely take a look at tonight's official finishing order. So let's do that, and then we'll move into the post-race show.
It was Billy Smith pulling car.
Oh, we have one more car?
Yeah, we have one more car. He is crossing the line right now. That is Colin Thomas in the 23rd position. Last car on the lead lap. He's across the line now. Now we can get our official standings.
Okay, thank you, James. Do appreciate it. So let's take a look at tonight's unofficial, I'll say, because everything needs to be reviewed before we can call them official. But the unofficial finishing order here from Road America was Billy Smith first across the line for the third time this season. Elliott Skier in second. Michael Polasek in third. Jason Lisner fourth. Leif Peterson fifth. Mark Huth in sixth. Hamilton Smith in seventh. Christopher Pies in eighth. William Yu ninth. And Joseph Steifel rounds out the top 10.
Matty James comes home in 11th position. Michelle Levesque in the 12th spot. Robert Wilson, we saw that great battle there with Stephen Cuglieri for the 13th spot, edging him out there. Stephen Cuglieri, of course, finishes in 14th. Shahib Khalisa in the 15th position. Lynn Wilson comes home 16th. Kyle Kamer in 17th, right behind him. Alberto Fonseca, we watched those two battling earlier, comes home in the 18th position. Liam Brazitas comes home in 19th, and Brett Holmes in the 20th.
James Sue, 21st place. Kenny Brown in 22nd. Colin Thomas last across the line there in 23rd. Jeremy Mazzariello, disappointing night, but finished one spot behind where he started in 24th. Trey Drawhorn, big fan base here tonight, only can muster a 25th place finish, 3 laps down. David Stewart in 26th. Eric McHugh, 27th. James Patak, 28th. Matthew Kikas, 29th. And Richard Minkler, 30th and last. That is how they came across the line. Before we get into the interviews with the podium finishers, I want to remind you that the Porsche Club of America is the largest single marquee car club in the world, with over 135,000 members across North America. There are also 145 PCA regions throughout the United States and Canada, so that you can get involved locally with fellow Porsche owners. If you're not already a member of the Porsche Club of America, PCA membership is only $46 per year. Membership includes a subscription to their award-winning magazine, Porsche Panorama, and access to the members-only section of the PCA.org website. To join PCA, visit www.pca.org/join-Porsche-Club-America. And also reminds you that Porsche Club of America, as discussed, hosts over 3,500 events. See, that's why I didn't read that one earlier. That was the trivia question. Hosts over 3,500 events annually across North America. Between the 10 national events and thousands of region events, there is a PCA event for every Porsche enthusiast. PCA hosts autocross events, Concours d'Elegance, drivers' education classes, driving tours, social events, and tech sessions. For more information, visit pca.org/events. I also want to give a shout out to the second server that we did not get to see here tonight at Road America. Bruce Robinson pulled down the win over in server B. Juha Matanmaki second. Michael Evans rounds out the podium finishers. And speaking of podium finishers, let's talk to ours here. And of course, we'll start from the top step of the podium. For the third time this season, it is Billy Smith. And Billy, congratulations on the win. Weird circumstances see you get this checkered flag, but sometimes the situation just falls your way. Is Skier and Lisner tangled in front of you?
Yeah, that definitely was not expected. I was kind of following Michael there, trying to find a way around at the beginning of the race. Kind of my plan was if things kind of went crazy, was just to kind of sit back and make some popcorn and watch for a bit. But I definitely didn't expect that to happen.
Sort of reminiscent of Watkins Glen, of course, a little bit reverse situation. Of course, you inherit the lead when those two tangled, and from there, you just pulled away. Obviously not something you expected to have happen, but certainly a turn for the better in your case. You had a great battle going, of course, with Michael Polasek as well. The contact down in turn 5. Walk us through that from your perspective.
Yeah, I don't know if Michael maybe pushed a little bit at the very beginning, trying to pass Elliott, and maybe got his tires a little hot. So I was just trying to pressure him, hoping that maybe he would make a mistake that I could capitalize on, and then get away. And I just went for it in turn 5, I believe, And I think when we turned in, I wasn't quite beside him, and there might have been a little bit of net code, but that was just close racing. It was unfortunate. And I definitely apologize to Michael.
It was close racing, and it wasn't the first time you two got really close, especially down at that end of the circuit. But when you come out here to the big 4 miler Road America, plenty of passing opportunities. But when you get one corner wrong, it can really ruin an entire lap. You guys stayed linked together for a good ways, but as you sat behind Michael and watched Lisner and Skier drive away, at what point did you really come to terms with the fact you had to make that pass if indeed the pace was just not there for the 45?
I mean, I went back there a couple laps, and I found myself getting a really good run, and they were starting to walk away. And I knew what Elliott was going to do. I knew he wanted to follow Lisner and try to check out to get away from me and Michael both. So once that started to happen, I knew I needed to make a move, not let them get too far.
Billy, representing the Maverick region, of course, of the PCA, you pulled down your 3rd win. Good for the point standings as well. With only a couple events left, what do you make of your chances to win this championship?
I think they're pretty good. Obviously, the next 2 races are going to be pretty crazy. It's they talk about in NASCAR the super speedways being a wild card, and Daytona is obviously a road course that we're going to be on, but that race is going to be pure.
Certainly going to be something fun to watch. Billy, I'll give you the opportunity, of course, to say hello and thanks to everyone who helps power you to a win here tonight at Road America.
I just want to thank you guys. Thank the PCA for putting on this great series, very competitive, and thanks all the friends and fans out there.
All right, tonight's race winner again for the 3rd time here, Billy Smith. Congratulations. We'll look forward to seeing you next week at Summit Point.
Thanks, David.
And from him, we will transition to 2nd place finisher, Elliott Skier. Of course, probably going to have a lot to say, and he is standing by with our James Krahula.
That's right. I've caught down with Elliott Skier, and we'll just go ahead and jump straight to the question that we all want to know. What happened heading down in the turn 5 there with you and Jason Lisner?
Yeah, that wasn't ideal, was it? No, we were going in there, and we were starting to lose some time to the guys behind. So I was like, all right, it's time to go here. So I popped out. I've been kind of playing with the bias, figuring out what a good number was in the couple laps before, found a good number. And then just, it's a downhill slight left. He pinched me a little. I kept it close. From my point of view in the car, I think there was a slight bit of net code, maybe a couple inches that did it, because I felt like we were fine. And I feel like we've been that close before. So it's just, I see it as we were both racing hard. Obviously, from the positioning, I'll take blame as the guy trying to pass. Of course, I'll take the majority of the blame. But it was just a bit of hard racing there. It's unfortunate it ended how it did. And then just I tried to take a look to see if his car was clean, wait for him to get going. But once I saw the front was a bit bent, it's like, all right, we got to go here.
Yeah, and going back to that, what was all that little bit of gentleman racing at Watkins Glen a few weeks ago, and a little bit of the same here this evening as well. But I mean, you had a fast car, and you and Jason Lisner were trying to stay away. Billy Smith was starting to gain on y'all right before that was happening. I guess, and that brought along your urgency to try and get around the 92. But I mean, tell us about your race overall at Road America, and we only have 2 races left to go here. Kind of running out of time here on the championship, missing those first couple races. But, how do you feel here for the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, no, it's still all, at the end of the day, all in all, still feeling pretty good. It was, hard racing, us 4 very close with it. And, Michael was forcing the issue a bit early in terms of the blocks and his aggressiveness with it. And, he's shooting himself in the foot a little bit with that. So it was like, all right, got to get around him and go. And once I saw he was starting to battle Billy, Jason, I just staying behind him, gaining the gap, building the gap. As soon as it starts coming down, okay, time to go. And then turn 5 happens, and then just push to the end and see if it's never over to the flag, so you never knew what was going to happen with Billy. But yeah, not the ideal race to say. A little bit of racing incident, a little bit of net code in there. But at the end of the day, that's the beauty of sim racing, no crash damage.
Well, and we do head to Summit Point here. Only 2 races left to go after tonight. Summit Point and then Daytona. So how do you feel about your Porsche Cup car heading into Summit Point here next week?
To be honest, I think Summit Point's going to be a bit of chaos, but I personally love the chaotic tracks. I love the old school stuff. So no, that should be fun. If we thought turn 5 was interesting enough here, I heard some other guys on the radio talking about incidents there. I could see turn 1 bringing an equal amount, if not more, there. So now the goal is obviously to keep it clean, see if we can keep it out front. But yeah, that's going to be some tight street fights right there.
Well, before we let you go, who makes it happen for you, Elliot?
Yeah, obviously, as always, Podium Esports and iRacing and PCA. Wasn't for those three, this wouldn't be happening. Then all the guys out at Premier Sports Car Service out in Vegas, huge supporters of mine. Always happy to have them around, and it's good to see them out here as well.
All right, that was your second place finisher, the number 14 of Elliott Skier. And David, you've caught up with a man who I bet has really gotten a lot of good calf workouts this year, has been up on the podium and doing a lot of steps this year, and that is number 45 of Michael Polasek.
Indeed, we do have Michael Polasek here with us, third place tonight at Road America, and certainly was an eventful trip around this huge road course. Walk us through it from your perspective.
The car's a bit worse for wear afterwards. Don't worry, I'll buff out. But at the start of the race, I broke way too early for turn 1, and Lisner got the jump on me. Then after that, I just tried my hardest to try and hold position, and that's what kind of really separated Skier and Lisner from Billy Smith and me. After Billy Smith got past me, I just tried to keep my head down, try and compensate for the aero damage, and just try and bring the car home in one piece.
Well, you certainly did exactly that as you end up on the podium once more and winning the pole, not coming out of turn 1 with the lead. What did that do to your mentality as you approach the rest of the race?
It was a bit of a confidence killer, but I just said, head down, we'll probably make it up. We got the pace. Let's go.
And you did, and you had a great battle there with Billy Smith. Contact you touched on as well is very aggressive into turn 5. That seemed to be a tough place for a lot of people to get through, and a lot of action took place down there. But did you feel you were holding up Billy because you drove harder earlier on in the stint and maybe used up the tires as he was guessing during his interview, or was it something else?
I think that Billy, at that point, he had the draft, he had the pace over me, and I just got a bit too much under pressure, and I was trying to hold him up as much as possible.
You did a great job, and of course you came in tonight third in the point standings, shaking off the disappointment from a week ago at Laguna Seca with your early exit up there in the corkscrew. So to get back on the podium sort of rights the ship for you. Of course, the points leader comes away with the win, so that's going to hurt, but 2 races left, Summit Point next week. What do you have to do to get yourself back into the thick of this championship fight?
Well, for Summit Point, after Laguna Seca, after crashing out, I pretty much said, head down. That's not going to happen again. And I just practiced and practiced and practiced for hours on end. And I'm going to be doing the same for Summit Point. Summit Point, the track, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be, I think, similar to Lime Rock, except the track's a lot narrower. So we might see a couple of passes into the hairpin, but I'm not entirely sure anywhere else.
Representing Northern New Jersey region of the PCA, Michael will give you the opportunity to say hello, and thanks to everyone who helps get you home to a third place finish here tonight.
All right. So I'd like to thank all of the Northern New Jersey region. They host a lot of great events. There was a classic car rally that I unfortunately couldn't go to March 31st. But I'd like to say thank you to all of them. I also like to thank Grand Prix New York, and their adult racing league there is really, really good. Also, the guy who runs it, Mike Pileski, he is a great guy, great league organizer. And I'd also like to thank my team, Lone Wolf Motorsports. We actually came third in the ESIA 6 Hours of Silverstone. And I'd also like to thank GT Hub. GT Hub is a really good Discord server for talking about endurance races. They also have Mazda MX-5 League. They're a great group of guys.
We appreciate the time as always. Congratulations on a great third place finish. We'll look forward to seeing you next week at Summit Point.
All right. Thank you
third
very
place
much.
finisher there. Thank you, Michael. So you hear the words from him, James, talking about how his mentality changed after losing out of the lead. Turn 1, what that did to him. He said it was a confidence killer.
Yeah, and one we've seen Michael all year long. He's been very fast. He's just not been able to get that W. But again, we've seen him up on the podium here every single week, minus Laguna Seca. And he's a guy that's shown a lot of speed and a lot of talent, has just not been able to have the all the dominoes fall in his favor. Is that a saying? Does dominoes fall into favor? Did I just screw up that saying?
Maybe. We'll have to fact check that one when we go off air, but I'm not sure that's one I'm familiar with. But I like what you're driving at there. It's a creative interpretation nonetheless. I think to your point there, James, if not for the donut in the points last week at Laguna Seca, this fight for the championship is going to be a little bit tighter amongst those top three, and Michael Polasek will be right there amongst them. But he'll have to try and get after it. As he said, put his head down and try and finish strong at Summit Point and Daytona. Before we sign off for the night, I want to remind you of the upcoming events here on the Podium Esports. Of course, next time on air is going to be over on the Podium Esports Network Wednesday night from Stafford Motor Speedway. The Cars Esport Tour will kick off at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Our Elite Series and our Truck Series will get underway from Gateway Motorsports Park Thursday, April 11th and April 14th, respectively. And of course, right here on the iRacing Esports Network next Friday night, the Porsche Club of America heads to Summit Point. We'll kick off live at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. With that, we will wrap things up from here for tonight. For all of our partners over at the PCA, and for DJ Lion, Gary Sexton, Kyle Barnes, and James Pike at Podium Esports, for my partner in the booth, James Krahula, and our producer, Cisco Scaramuza, I'm David Schildhouse, saying congratulations, race winner Billy Smith, and good night from Road America.